The year is 1919. In a speech to the United States Senate Committee on Foreign Relations, then President of the United States Woodrow Wilson described economic sanctions as a, quote, peaceful, silent, deadly remedy and effective nonviolent method of coercing policy concessions from other states. So 100 years after the idea of sanctions were first mentioned in the Senate Committee, are Woodrow Wilson's claims true? Are economic sanctions a powerful tool to coerce other states? Well, this is what we're going to explore in this video. 100 years after the idea of sanctions were first mentioned in the US Senate floor, we're going to explore the evidence and track record of sanctions in the world. First, let's look at some theory and definitions. Why are sanctions an appealing tool in the international relations world? Well, sanctions in essence constrain the target leader and restrict the flow of resources to supporters, therefore increase the likelihood of defection from the winning or incumbent faction or coalition. Second, sanctions generate public dissent, creating a wave of opposition to the sanctioned leader or actor. And this is where the idea of sanctions are most appealing. The fact that sanctions can push a part of a population or a coalition to dissent and join another coalition in order to remove a leader or an actor or government in power. However, this is in theory. According to the numbers, 95% of times sanctions were ignored by states. And in most cases, sanctions led to an increased repression from the government to the citizens, meaning that human rights abuses increase as sanctions increase within a state. In many occasions, evidence shows that sanctioning a country instead of creating a wave of public repression against the government, we often see a nationalism increase within the population or the public, since the public rallies behind the government as a unit. This is a phenomenon that we mostly see in the Middle East and in places such as Iran or Iraq before the US invasion, in which sanctions were seen as an attack on the people, and therefore nationalism increased and people rally behind their government officials. So we know that sanctions lead to an increase in state-sponsored physical repression. However, does the type of sanction matter? Well, the short answer is yes. According to the evidence, US-led sanctions campaigns often fail due to the individualistic nature of it. A few examples of this is US sanctions against China, Cuba, or Syria. Another reason for the failure of US sanctions is that we often see harsh sanctions on other states, creating an increase in nationalism as said before. However, the first bullet point is why most of the time, or many political scientists contribute the US sanctions failure towards other states. And it's because it's very individualistic, meaning that not a lot of people join the coalitions that the US tried to create in order to sanction another country or in order to isolate a country from the international stage. However, the evidence is not similar when it comes to the UN. UN-led sanctions, in this case, sanctions do work. According to the evidence, UN sanctions, due to their less harsh nature, often work more effectively in achieving the desired goal. Another reason for the UN sanctions' effectiveness is that UN sanctions are more collective, meaning that more countries participate in them, which is not the case for the US-led sanctions, in which the US is oftentimes the only country imposing them, as said before. The third and final reason why UN sanctions work more effectively than the US sanctions is that they target specifically military hardware, economic relations in the military industry, which is not the case for the US. US sanctions often target credits, embargoes, and investment within a country. In essence, sanctions in general decrease human rights most of the time within a state, and most sanctions don't accomplish their goals. So why do states participate in sanctions? Well, for that we need to go back to Human Rights 101. As we know, interstate wars are not a popular thing anymore within democratic governments. So in many cases, the best option a state has to respond to a radical or irrational actor in the international system is sanctions. However, sanctions also increase public shaming and media attention, which consequently decreases tourism, deprive other states from working with you, and overall it's not a good thing to be in a political or economic war with another state. These sort of ideas or variables contribute to the fact that sanctions, while on paper might not seem very effective, they might be effective in the long term, since they create a public perception of a government. Thank you for watching this video on sanctions. For more political science and international relations videos, please follow the YouTube channel.